I call to order the Town Council meeting of Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Andrews,
Present.
Councilmember Beckman,
Here.
Councilmember Ravazio,
Here.
Vice Mayor Casissa,
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here. Will you please join me to salute the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, we now have open time. Here at open time, you can speak on anything that is not on the agenda. You will have 3 minutes and there will be a timer that you can watch on your screen. Anyone who would like to speak, please, in the room, please approach the dais and make sure you're speaking into the microphone. And I see someone approaching in the room.
Oh,
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Jeremiah Mock, and since I believe I'm the only citizen that's not paid to be here, I just want to tell you that in recent months in doing my field work around Corte Madera, that I have been struck by the number of people who come up and talk to me and ask me what I'm doing. And in the course of that, talk about what a great town it is to live in here in Corte Madera. And I wanted to convey that message to you that there's a lot of appreciation out there for the hard work that you all do that most of us are unaware of. And I got a real front row seat and education too in the planning workshop. But I just want to convey on behalf of the people that I've spoken with and myself and my family, my thanks for everything you do to make this a great town to live in.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to speak? Anyone online?
we don't have any hands raised from our online attendees, and we didn't receive any emailed public comment for open time.
Okay, thank you. So presentations tonight, we have none. So we move to the consent calendar. Any member of the public or of the council or staff may request the removal of an item for discussion. Do we have anyone who would like to speak on removing an item on the council? Okay, any in the public?
We didn't receive any requests to remove any items.
All right.
We also don't have any hands raised from attendees for open time.
Okay.
I mean, sorry, for commenting on
For
consent
comment,
calendar
yes.
items.
So we're good. Okay, so no one has any comments for open time in response to the consent calendar. All right. So now we will move on to, we have no public hearings.
We need to take a vote on the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving too fast.
I will move that we approve the consent calendar items 4A through 4G.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa.
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
All right. We have no public hearings. We have a first business item, 6A, consideration and possible action to authorize the Director of Public Works to approve the plans and contract documents, the sole source specification of Allen Bradley Compact Logic 5380 controllers and Panel View 500 HMIs the advertisement of bids and award a construction contract to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder on the base bid amount plus bid additives not to exceed $860,000 plus a 10% contingency for the storm pump station short-term repairs, phase 1, number 25-303. And I believe we have a presentation from Public Works Director Chris Good.
Thank you, Mayor Thomas and Council. I'm sorry, the subject's such a mouthful. So I'll be just doing a little intro, and then we have our senior civil engineer, Nick Cartagena, who's the project manager, who'll be walking through this presentation. So this storm pump station short-term repair project stems from the storm drain master plan and was considered a very high priority project in the master plan, meaning that they recommended we at least do it in the next 10 years, but ideally as soon as possible because a lot of the repairs are pretty urgent. So the town took our consultant's list of recommendations and split them into 2 phases. Phase 1, phase 2, and we grouped the type of work to try to reduce how many specialized contractors were in each phase and just try to reduce the cost overall. So both these phases look to address all the preventative maintenance at our pump stations that our consultants found when they did inspections as part of the storm drain master plan. And in particular, phase 1 of the project looks to, replace outdated control systems, level sensors, and electrical components, with the goal of, improving reliability, ease of use, and extending the service life of many of these facilities that are getting towards the end of their useful life, but which we can't completely replace in the near future. So that's just a bit of an intro, and Nick will kind of dive in a little deeper, and with that, I'll pass it off to him.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm presenting the storm drain pump station short-term repairs phase 1 project. This is a reliability-focused project aimed at improving the electrical and control components at several of our storm drain pump stations to reduce operational risk before the winter. Next slide, please. Okay. These pump stations are a critical part of our flood protection system. When we have a major storm, these facilities are what keep water moving, protect neighborhoods and roadways. Many of the stations rely on aging electrical components and level sensors that are increasingly difficult to maintain and more vulnerable to failure. As Chris mentioned, the 2024 Storm Drain Master Plan identified some system-wide reliability risks, and this project is a direct response to those findings. We've structured the overall project, as Chris mentioned, in 2 phases. Phase 1 is focusing on sensors, electrical components, and select controller upgrades. That's this current project. The phase 2 project, which will come to you in a future meeting with a separate staff report for, will address corrosion protection and structural repairs. Next slide, please. The phase 1 includes upgrades to level sensors, electrical components, and replacement of select controllers where they're outdated. The base bid includes work at Black Kettle, High Canal Pump Station, Marina Village, San Clemente, and the Corporation Yard. Lagoon 1 and Lagoon 2 are included as bid additives to give us some flexibility depending on how bids come in and available funding. The goal is straightforward: improve the reliability, monitoring, and operational performance. We are also recommending the sole source specification of the Allen Bradley Compax Logic 5380 controller and PanelView 5000 interface. Standardizing these components across the stations simplifies maintenance and reduces long-term operational risk. Next slide.
And just wanted to mention, we do already have some of those controllers at our other pump stations. So we're trying to further kind of make them standard for our maintenance staff.
Great. Here's a zoomed in view of the table that was on the last slide. The table summarizes the improvements at each station. You can see where we're replacing level sensors, upgrading controllers, replacing the automatic transfer switch at San Clemente, and making other electrical improvements. The scope varies slightly by station depending on existing conditions, but the overall theme is improving reliability and modernizing key electrical components. Next slide. The base bid estimate is approximately $760,000 with a 10% construction contingency, a $30,000 technical construction support item, for a net anticipated project cost of about $866,000. The Lagoon 1 and Lagoon 2 additives are estimated at $300,000 combined, and funding is anticipated from Measure F sales tax revenues. Approximately $700,000 is programmed in the current fiscal year budget, and additional Measure F funds would be allocated due to recent increases in materials and electrical system costs. We plan to advertise the project as soon as practicable, with construction beginning in early summer and continuing into the early wet season, so the critical upgrades will be in place before peak storms. And next slide. So that concludes my presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does anyone on the council have questions?
I have a request, which is when you put an item like this on the agenda, can you put a hint at the start of the paragraphs, like pump station repairs, so that we have an idea what an Allen Bradley compact Logix, whatever is?
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll make sure to make that more obvious next time. Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you. So
Great presentation. Only question, I know that during the big flooding that we had a few weeks ago, was it Black Kettle pump station that suffered damage?
Well, initially we thought so. One of the pumps stopped working, but it turns out it was due to the electrical system. It was basically just something got flipped in it.
Oh,
So it was an easy fix. We didn't end up
Amazing.
having to pay.
no questions then. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I just have a couple. This won't mitigate any flooding, right? This is only for maintenance, upgrades and stuff like that, right? It's not going to
Correct.
solve anything.
Yeah, it won't make any improvements, but it'll increase reliability so we don't, lose pump stations during major storms.
Okay. And then the other question is, additional costs are going to come from Measure F fund. Are those funds budgeted for this project out of Measure F?
You want to, so they're not, they're not budgeted in the current fiscal year. We've talked about this addition, if it's additional funding over the 700,000, I think 700,000 is budgeted. That will have to basically be, there's funding available, but essentially it just reduces the ultimate amount in Measure F that can be used for the out years, so sort of non-budgeted years 3, 4, 5 down the road.
Okay. Quick comment. When we get this, I'd like to see more clarity instead of just saying the money's coming from Measure F, if it's budgeted, or again, exactly how that money's flowing, not just that it's coming from Measure F funds. And for all future reports. Thanks.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item? Being none in the room.
We don't have any hands raised from our online attendees, and we didn't receive any emailed public comment for this item.
Okay. So I will bring it back to the council for any additional comments.
No additional comments, but I can make a motion.
Okay.
I'm not going to try to read this whole thing. I go ahead and
Come up with
make
a
the motion, authorize the Director of Public Works to approve plans and contract documents, authorize sole source specification of Alter Bradley Complex Logic Controllers Panel as stated in the staff report.
Project 25303.
Thank you, which was at the end.
Second,
Okay, Councilmember Andrews,
yes,
Councilmember Beckman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Casissa,
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion carries.
right. Thank you. Our next item is. Boy, this is short agenda. The next item, I'm going, did I forget something? The next item is a presentation of the summary of the January 23rd, 2026 strategic planning workshop and acceptance of the 2026 staff work plan. And that will be
Yes.
Town Manager Adam Wolf.
Thank you, Mayor Thomas and council members. I first just want to thank all of our council members and staff for what I thought was a very productive and positive meeting on January 23rd. I think we had a lot of great discussion around town council priorities and the draft list of work plan items that were in and discussed at that meeting, and then that you see before you. And I think this draft that view, similar to past years, really sets us up to move the town forward in a very positive direction over the next year. So in reviewing, I'm just going to go through a little bit of how we sort of modified the draft that you saw during the 23rd work plan meeting and what you're seeing in front of you today. So obviously we reviewed our notes from the meeting, and really there weren't a number of or not a significant number of explicitly agreed to changes or additions to the staff work plan. What we've tried to do is nonetheless reflect some of the commentary from the discussions and the existing work plan items that were already on the draft list and make other changes that were proposed and where there did not appear to be any disagreement. So this was done based on our notes and after vetting with staff that were in attendance. And I will just note that this is probably going to get a little bit more precise in the future. My understanding is starting this next year after July 1st, any meeting that the town council has, if we normally record those meetings, they will need to be recorded in the future. So for example, our next work plan, probably next year, next meeting will be recorded. And so we'll be able to actually review the actual conversation, pros and cons to that. But that's the new, is that part of the new Brown Act legislation that came before recently? Yeah. So, so again, this was done based on our notes so just in the staff report, what I've done here is on pages 3 and 4, outline the changes made as a result of the workshop, starting at the bottom of page 3. Just rather than going through each and every one, I'm happy to talk further about each of them. But for example, some of the commentary from the discussions in an existing work plan item is the third bullet on the top of page 4. We modified an existing work plan item regarding modernizing our commercial zoning regulations to include language that also included was about activating vacant commercial properties. And that was part of the commentary at the beginning of the meeting, but a couple of council members had mentioned that. And so that was sort of added to an existing work plan item that already existed. In addition, there are about 3 different items that were added, listed in the bullets, related to the mural project for the Corte Madera Community Center. Consider opportunities to utilize tech AI for optimizing traffic flow on the town's major roads. It was brought up that we're likely going to head into potentially have a discussion and some exploration regarding what it might mean to merge collection agencies for this on the sanitary sewer side. Those were added, and then we removed, based on a comment, I think, from Councilmember Casissa about removing some of the administrative items. About 4 of those were removed from it. So tried to highlight in the staff report the modifications. And then in addition, there's a summary of discussions related to topics like the tobacco retail ordinance, flood response, and which in the staff report we're documenting the town council's preferred approach to toward agendizing future formal discussions on these issues. And then lastly, the staff report includes a list of items that were sort of parked for potential inclusion in a future work plan. And so this is, the staff report really tries to summarize the conversation that we had at that meeting to the best of our ability. And then specifically the staff work plan has been updated as mentioned and is included in attachment 1. So tonight, I think, happy to facilitate any additional discussion or answer questions related to this final draft document. Lorena's prepared to pull up the draft on the screen if we need to look at some of those and have some conversations. And again, the council's asked to either accept the draft work plan as drafted, accept with modifications, or provide some specific direction to continue conversation at another meeting or what have you, and get this finalized so that we can move forward with it as expeditiously as possible. With that, I'm going to stop and open this up to questions or comments or anything else that Mayor Thomas and the council members would like to do at this point.
All right. Any questions from the council? Well, do we? Okay. Well,
Got
we'll
one.
start down here.
On page 4, 4th item down, it says, item for the creation of holiday lighting plan was changed to creation of permanent lighting plan at Menke Park with community partners. I vaguely recall hearing from other council people that we aren't supposed to have people in the park after dark, so is that,
Yeah.
are we going in cross purposes?
I think it was just for the lighting. And I know we originally had this up as a holiday lighting plan concept. I think that came out of our December 16th meeting when the chamber was here. And I think there were comments at the meeting on the 23rd that maybe this should really be more of maybe not just focused on holiday, but could be related to year-round holidays rather than sort of like the Christmas holiday in particular. So that was some of the what we had recalled the discussion. That was where the discussion went, and so we tried to make a modest change to that. And this is where we landed. But happy to hear any feedback.
I think you need to tweak it so it's like holiday permanent lighting. Because when you say permanent lighting, I'm thinking what Jim's thinking, that you're going to be putting lights in the parking lot or in the park. To me, holiday lights means we're going to put lights on the tree. And I think I mentioned this before, that if we can get them permanent in the sense that we're using app to change the colors for different holidays. But I think you need to maybe just add the word holiday or something else in there so people aren't thinking that we're putting lights.
Okay.
Or decorative or something.
I like the word decorative. Thank you.
Decorative lighting,
Holiday
but
lighting.
it's for potentially multiple different holidays throughout the year.
Right. I think when I hear the word permanent, I'm thinking you're putting like street lights and that kind of stuff in the parking lot.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, okay. I think makes it very clear.
Or,
So I like
holiday or the lights that are on strings for lighting that you see in
Yeah.
bistros and stuff like that. So,
So can we tweak that language? Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
All right. Do you have anything you'd like?
Done.
That's all? Okay. All right. Fred, do you want to go now?
Yeah. I have a list which I sent to Adam earlier. I don't know if you went through any of those, if you agree with any of them, or how you want to do this. I just don't want to take up a lot of time if you agree to some of these, if you don't, or if you want me to just go through them.
I think you should. Yeah, you might. I think it would be good to go through them for
No private
Councilman.
views.
Okay, that's fine.
And
Okay. So I'm just going to go, you know me, I talk fast. One thing is the category where it says climate action, adaptation, disaster preparedness. I would split that into two categories. One is climate action / adaptation, and a separate category, which is disaster preparedness. And I would add the word recovery to it. So it's just having one that's all encompassing, split those into two.
Okay. And I haven't gone through each of the items, but they're easily, I assume that you've looked at easily sort of separated into the two
I think they can be easy. I just think that I think the disaster stuff needs to be separated because to me, it's more important
Okay.
at this point in time than, no offense against anybody, than climate action is just more important. Two things I would add. I would add two things to the work plan. One is vegetation management, because I noticed we left money on the table from last year's budget. It was about 180,000 if my numbers are right. We shouldn't be leaving money on the table for vegetation management. So we budgeted 300, we only spent, I may be wrong on the numbers and Chris can correct me, we only spent 115.
Yeah.
That's public safety. We should be figuring out programming, how to use that money.
Okay, and with the way to do that, oh, sorry.
Okay,
Okay, I'll make a note for later.
And then I think on category 1 for fiscal sustainability, it's my understanding that
Can we go to that one? I would like to actually go through with each of these so I'm clear and then make sure that I'm understanding what we want to change. So
that one's an addition, vegetation management.
Should we, okay, so we want to add what would we call, it's just basically a create programs or implement vegetation management programs?
Yeah, I guess that's fine. Again, I'm just looking at from the money
CMFA.
standpoint. We're not spending the mail money. We should be on vegetation management. If that means creating new programs, then yeah.
If I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
so the beautification committee often has a long-standing list of plantings that they would like to see put in, but also the maintenance of existing plantings really needs to be part of that program.
This doesn't have anything to do with that. I'm
Right.
talking strictly vegetation management.
Like CMFA.
This is wildfire. Yep.
Oh,
This is
sorry,
strictly,
I'm sorry.
we have trails to clean up. We should be doing chipper programs, that kind of work.
Okay, is everybody
Sorry.
That's okay.
okay with adding that to the work plan?
So I will say I'm okay with adding it to the work plan, but I want to know is the amount of money that we spent, was it accomplished? But I'm questioning, my only question is, do we just spend the money because we have it, or do we spend it because we need to spend it? So my question is whether or not we properly were managing vegetation with the amount of money that we spent.
I don't think it's managing. I don't think we're doing enough. That's what I mean. Again, years ago, we did chipper programs in neighborhoods. We're not doing that anymore. I think we're giving Central Marin 115,000, and that's all we're giving them.
In
I'm sorry,
19,
Jim can probably speak to
in
this. a bit
19
more.
and 20, for $300,000, we were able to have neighborhood chipper programs. And they went around and gave everybody, every neighborhood a buzz cut so that, if you look, things like Alta Vista, you could actually find the road afterwards. Okay. And but that meant that somebody on town staff had to be dedicated to organizing the neighborhoods to do the chipper programs, tell them what day the chipper would be there and the dumpster would be there. And
So if I can, this was a conversation, I think, prior to the last year's budget of 25, 26 at this point. And we increased the amount of funding that went into wildfire mitigation measures. And essentially, it's been a transfer straight into the CMFA budget for CMFA to basically provide additional program or address additional Corte Madera specific needs related to wildfire vegetation management and wildfire mitigation. I can have definitely Todd Lando and Ruben Martin come and speak to exactly how they're spending the money this year. And if their programs are not robust enough to, they say they're available to meet all and any needs that people have for vegetation management. And so, but I think it's best that they speak to is specifically what the programming is that would be most effective.
I think we need to go back to what we were doing 4 or 5 years ago, because we were doing a lot more work. Because all you're telling me is we're going to go to them and they're going to go, oh, yeah, we spent the money. And I know the last presentation at the Fire Council, most of that was what MWPA is doing, not what Central Marin Fire is doing. So again, like Jim was saying, 5 years ago, we were doing a lot more work, and that wasn't controlled by the fire department. That was controlled by the town. Because the town hired somebody on a part-time basis to run crews out, to trim trees, to do vegetation management, trim back scotch broom and all that, and couple that with running chipper programs, putting dumpsters in neighborhoods. That was the town doing that. It was not the fire department.
Okay.
In the towns.
So is there
town
work?
temporary
So please,
employee
just if you
went to
can,
each neighborhood, knocked on the doors and said, hey, we're going to be having a dumpster here on these dates. You've got 3-4 weeks to clear all the brush in your neighborhood. And,
so what I'm hearing is that a request that the town staff develop a vegetation management program above and beyond anything that CMFA is doing in terms of wildfire mitigation, that efficiently spends money for creates its own metrics and whatnot for actually effectiveness. Is that?
Yeah, but I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel, because again, we were doing it 4 or 5 years ago. You may have
had
to
a
tweak it,
specific individual.
but you don't have to reinvent the wheel, because we were doing it before.
I think we do. Okay. I mean, maybe we need to have a conversation about this. I do think there has to be coordination with MWPA and CMFA for doing this. Coordination. I'm just saying, otherwise we're going to be duplicative of some work.
Mm-hmm.
We may be going out to the same neighborhoods, knocking on the same door. So I would appreciate maybe we come back and have a conversation about what specifically we can do in conjunction, in addition to what CMFA and MWPA is doing to enhance those efforts, and have a separate agenda item where we discuss some potential options around that. Does that sound okay?
And I'd like it clarified, what was done before and why it went away. I mean, sometimes, sometimes you'll have a program and it's available to people, but people don't take advantage of it. And so you pull back on that program. So, I mean, I've been in, companies where, that's what they did. So I want to know, so in deciding what to do about all this, I'd like to know,
some context and history.
some context of, how was it taken advantage of when it was offered?
Could we just get this
Year
on
and
a
a
future
half.
agenda, maybe, that we discuss
I think
it?
that's what we're
Because
talking.
Yeah, that's,
I think there's a bigger issue here. The Wildfire Association has lots of money, $40 million. And if they're not spending it in Corte Madera, which I know I've heard from people who have spent their money on the tunnel pathway and then have spent a year trying, they were told they were going to be refunded, and they've spent a year fighting, trying to get refunded for some tree trimming work that they did for fire prevention for the community. So I don't think the system is working for Corte Madera. I don't know why. I don't know who our liaison is with the Wildfire Council. It used to be Bob. He was a co-founder. He was on the original board, and the town's got to fight for the work that they get. So maybe what was previously done by the town is now being funded. They got a big, I think it's 40 million a year, but we should be getting better service from them, at least in terms of serving our residents.
Just real quick, and because otherwise we're going to be running over, because I have more. I'm back on MWPA.
It's 7 o'clock, and
Right.
a lot of us felt
Okay.
like we
Okay.
didn't
Okay.
get heard the last
Okay,
time.
guys, I really, I don't want us to start creating this agenda item or arguing this as an agenda item. Okay,
Just
so I just
suggesting,
want
just a
so
suggestion.
so I just want to make sure we're not getting too deep into this. It sounds like it's something that we want on a future agenda.
Absolutely.
And that it's developed into a packet that we can review and properly present to the public. So that is what I'm hearing. And I think that we would probably want to leave it at that.
Yeah.
At this point.
I'd like to make a comment that the program that we had that died in 2020 with COVID and so on, in the year and a half prior to its death, they were averaging 1,100 cubic yards of material per month hauled off our hillsides. I don't see them maintaining that, that went, that level of work went away. And so, and the other question I have is how much of the funds going to the wildfire versus the fire department is sort of directed to the town and we sort of send it back to them? Because maybe we need to keep it in-house and work on a Corte Madera itself program. So anyway, that's just my comment on it.
That's something we can analyze. I don't think you were finished.
No, I have a few more. Sorry. I also want to add, under fiscal sustainability, I believe the Finance Advisory Committee is working on a 10-year financial plan. I think that should be on here also.
Investment?
Well, we presented, that was presented to the Finance Advisory Committee at their last meeting. And
It's at the Fred.
But I think
certainly,
that information starts to need to be flowing to us, though.
I agree.
okay. I think it's fine. So what's the ad would be to,
If you want to add it to an agenda, that's fine. But again, it's great we have a financial advisory committee, but what I'm starting to realize, because it happened last meeting, we're not getting financial data that we should be getting. Okay. So it's that committee is only advisory. We're the decision makers. So the information needs to come to us also.
that sounds good. All right. I'm just thinking of it in terms of the work plan and happy to do that. But we can put in place to just trying to put it into the context of an actual work plan. Are we adding something to the work plan, or is it just a comment that you want to see it? We can.
I don't know what stage that financial, I don't know what stage it's in. I don't know if it's been finalized, again, because information is not flowing up to us from that committee.
Well, they usually do come to us once they have something, right?
Yeah, but I want to make sure we're getting information we need.
We can agendize. How about we just agendize a discussion about the long-term budgeting that is being essentially that was presented at the last meeting, and it will change over time, but we can have a specific agenda item where that financial information is brought to the council for review and consideration and just comment.
Okay.
We're going to need a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, no.
Review them, the 72 hours in advance of making any sort of a decision.
Okay.
That's not going to work for.
Well, it's not, I don't know if I'm not understanding that it's an action item because it's a review of the information, correct?
Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't need to go on the work plan if that's what you're getting, as long as it gets on a future agenda and we get the information so we can review it.
But I think it's also a policy thing that we want full transparency and even maybe regular reports from the financial group. We set them up. So we'd like to hear from them and we'd like to have a full report occasionally, maybe once a year, just so that the council is kept in the loop, that we're not shut off.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No intention about doing that.
Sorry. Number 2 about developed facility vehicle equipment replacement, which is fine. But why is Central Marin Fire Department on there?
No, I think that was a good catch. We'll take it off.
Okay, thanks. And I'm gonna rattle off numbers because it's easier, and I don't want to read the whole thing. Number 7 regarding EV charging stations. Can we add verbiage in there that there's emphasis on the east side? That's been brought up several times.
I have no issue with that. We can put that, consider additional public EV chargers in particular on the east side or something like that? Comment.
37 within regards to the chamber developed strategies. I want to see that move to category 1. Because that's been on here, I think, since 2024 or something like, or 25. So we've been dealing with this for like, it's going to wind up being a year and a half. Because at the last meeting, we were told we're not getting anything until June.
Does everybody else want to move that to category 1?
Yeah, I mean, it
But
is whether
under-
or not.
We're going to
Well,
need it
gotta
before we
do
do
it.
the June 30 budget.
So or category 1 under fiscal sustainability? Is that what?
Can I make a suggestion? How about if we just say we want to move, and then you can figure out where you want to move them to? Because if we just say category 1, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter to me where it goes in category 1, unless it does.
Just want it to be a priority, I think is what
Right.
you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. All right. We'll figure out a way to make sure that that's a known priority.
Okay,
Okay.
Underway now.
yes. It's
Number 44, I would take that out, is regarding possibly acquiring North Mickey parking lot from the county. To me, that's totally premature, and that should have come to council for discussion before we even go down that road, if that's something council wants to pursue.
I disagree. I think you can talk to Dennis Redoni and
Yeah, I'd
see
like to
what
hear
the
from the
parameters
council.
are. I disagree.
I think this was something that was sort of offered by the county. It wouldn't have cost us anything. Is that my understanding?
So-
So it's just a consideration. It's not like we have a plan to do this. It's just that it's something that is sort of out there as a possibility.
I think that's correct. This came up a couple of years ago of just as we're responsible for maintenance anyways under the current agreement with the county. And we've talked about electric vehicle chargers. We've talked about actually it needs to be repaved and restriped and things like that. We're going to have to do some maintenance on it anyways. A couple of years ago, RJ had communicated with the county and just said like, hey, what's going on with this? Do you have any intentions or plans with this? And there was some discussion at that time of just like, it sounded like they'd be happy to sort of offload it if possible. I think the wording in here is just explore that. And if they want to, we certainly would come back to the council before any decisions are made and have that discussion. But given the fact that we started to explore better utilizing this parking lot and doing some improvements to it, that was why the sort of exploration was in there of talking to the county about maybe taking that over.
Okay, it may just be semantics. I would just change the wording from work to just exploring.
Okay.
Because work looks to me that it's down the road already, where we just say explore, it's more preliminary.
Understood. All right. That's a good suggestion. We'll make that
It
change.
costs much over $1. I have no idea what sort of price they're going to put on it.
Right. Either do I right now at this point.
Yeah.
Exploratory.
Number 45, continue to support CMPA and county efforts to appropriately enforce regulations. To me, that should come out. That's normal course of business to me. If the county or CMPA comes out with either new rules or regulations, we're either going to adopt them or follow them. It's just normal course of business.
I'm okay with that. Just
Couple other things. I would create one other category and just call it long range, because Christmas Tree Hill project and the overcrossing, those to me are longer term projects. And otherwise they're just going to stick on here. Like Christmas Tree Hill could be on here for another 3 or 4 years, and we just create a thing just saying long range, so people understand that it's in the work plan, but it's going to take longer.
Can I just comment and respond to that? Because I think I think that makes sense. What I might do instead is that where we have in the staff report sort of these list of items this year where we've said maybe for future work plan items, they'll come back on or they'll come out. So maybe we just add those to the staff report and just say, these are not items that are moving right now. We know they're going to actually hit in a couple of years' time more significantly in terms of amount of work. So we'll park them, so to speak, again in this sort of list that lives on the staff report. So at least it's codified. And when they come back on, they're in our capital plan anyways, 5-year capital budget. They're not lost.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
They're
It's
just not working.
They're
on them.
kind of
Yeah.
hanging out there.
Okay. good. I think I understand what you're saying there.
Just a couple other things, and I'm sorry to go back for a minute. Number 12 regarding the tobacco retail license update. This has possible adoption of the county's model. I don't know if we decided we're going to go to the county model.
The council for consideration.
Pardon?
It's bringing it to the, and that's, we did discuss at the meeting, bringing the model ordinance for consideration. And that's at that point in time, the council can decide whether to go with the model, whether to go with something else, or go with the model and something else.
Right. It's just semantics where this is referring to adoption of the county's model tobacco program. But we could
consider
decide to do a full ban if we wanted to and not go with the county.
Yeah, it says consider introduction. So I think I want to make, typically that's how we bring it is just for consideration.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to look at what exists first, and usually, so you're not creating it out of whole cloth, you look at that, and that could be your starting ground. But I think we do have,
tweak it.
yeah, because we always look at what other towns have done even when we're considering a new ordinance,
Right.
so it's just kind of,
Okay. All right.
just-
These are more general level questions. Don't worry, it's related to the work plan. I noticed in here, I think there's 22 out of the 51 that are rollovers from last year, which leads to the question, do we have the staffing? And I'm not looking at adding more people. I don't want to, I'll be honest with you at this point in time. To me, I don't want to start adding more employees to finish a work plan. But I just have concerns because we're rolling 22 items over from last year that didn't get done. It's no reflection on staff. There's only so much time, and the most valuable resource we have is staff time.
No, I appreciate that comment. I think it's something that we as a team have talked about before even putting this together. So I asked all my department heads, be very considerate about what is actually achievable. I will say some of the rollover items were always known they were going to roll over. They're essentially multiple year items because they're that significant of projects. They're just going to take that much time. So I'm not sure how many of the 22 were anticipated to roll over and others that just didn't get done. So I think I appreciate the comment, and I just will say that we've discussed this with the team and think it's achievable. It's each year it's a lot, but we are motivated to do it. And so I think, our goal, this sets the goal and the standard by which we're trying to sort of not only do this, of course, but everything else that we're doing. And again, I always make the point, we will check in, in the summertime, and things tend to, we could have a big issue that we never anticipated come up that requires a lot of work. And we'll have to tell you at that point in time, yeah, we put too much, these couple aren't going to get done this year, for example. So it's a living document, and but at this point in time, we feel good about what's on here and being able to achieve it.
Okay.
Unless some of these also have arrows on them as well, meaning that we anticipate that they're going to actually take more time than just this calendar year.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I just have one last one. I think at the strategic planning meeting, we talked about adding ethics and roles and responsibility training with our new town attorney.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say new, now you're here a month.
Second.
Close enough. I didn't see that on the work plan.
All right. Well, it's definitely noted. And I think if we can put it on the work plan, or we can just sort of say that's something that is intended to be done. And
Your state programs.
Whatever's easier I'll look at our town attorney.
There are programs at Sacramento for this that cover it all. I do not think we need to spend the money or the time to create special ethics training for this council. I'm sorry.
I think we need it. And I think it's better coming from our town attorney, doing it personalized, either roles and responsibility or ethics.
Come to Sacramento sometime.
All right.
It's better coming from him.
And
So either you can get it on.
If I may add, Adam, I just wanted to say, it is required that all of you and even department heads take that training. And I will be coordinating with our new legal team and with Richard specifically to have that training done in person and include other members of the advisory bodies. And it's not on the work plan because it's required that you renew it every 2 years regardless. We've been assigning it through IRMA and done the virtual
Sounds fine.
form, but Amy Ackerman used to also offer it in person as well. It's been ongoing, and
Okay.
and town staff is staying on top of that.
Okay, I'm good with that. So it sounds like we'll get personalized training sometime this year. Okay, I'm good. Okay, thanks.
One more question about training. The financial training that is now required of, I think, new council members. I would love for all to have it. And so I just wanted to ask our town attorney, is that something that you can present for us?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. And in fact, we're preparing all other clients of the firm to do the same. The requirement for current council members doesn't kick in until 2028. So you have some time, but if there's a new council member, obviously newly elected council members will have to have this training. So we're putting it together, coordinating with what the syllabus is going to be and what the materials are going to be. So we're working on it.
All right. Thank you. Jim.
I think in the meantime, there's the League of Cities has a finance class or course. And if anybody can figure out when that is, you could find out if you can fit it into your work schedule for that.
Okay. Thank you. And I think, oh, yeah, something else?
One more question.
Oh, okay.
Number 21 or 29, replace the corporate yard wash rack and everything. Can we expand that so that it's, how do we flood proof that facility? 29, replace corporate yard wash rack, modify drainage.
Yeah, so I think under number 9, the third bullet, we tried to consolidate all the flood response items into one work plan item. And so if you look at the third bullet, conduct emergency repairs, renovations, create temporary accommodations, and incorporate flood mitigation at Corporation Yard. Do we want to, does that work, or do you want me to be more specific about, the idea is, yes, we are aware of the, some of the aquadam features or some other potential mechanism that certainly when we do the repairs, not that we can implement something that wraps the building or mitigates flooding in the future so that this doesn't happen again. So
the impression that one of the racks goes down into the
that's going to
ground,
be sealed, yeah.
which became a fountain during the flood. So that's why I was thinking of the wash rack versus.
Yeah, the wash rack one is actually outside. It's outside of the facility. It's adjacent to it. So but it needs repaired to comply with actual labor standards and safety requirements.
Okay.
Sorry, not labor standards, safety requirements.
Sorry, while Jim's on number 9, it says address community needs related to home repairs. What is that, or what does that mean?
I will get to that in my report. We're just trying to help facilitate, whether that's through communication. But actually, in one of my reports, we do have now a new opportunity for loans for individual homeowners to access from the Small Business Association, things like that. So people can actually either, so we can communicate that to our community. It's the permit program, helping people who need permits move to the front of the line, so to speak. It was the things that we were doing essentially with the pop-ups out in the community, just trying to make sure that we're there and we're present for people who may need assistance going forward with damage repair, placement, those sorts of things, or mitigation going in the future. But
okay, that's just a quick question along those lines, because I know I brought up to staff about waiving permit fees related to people. If damage was related to the flood, to waive those permit fees, I kind of got pushed back. Is that off the table?
I wouldn't say it's off the table. We just haven't had any further discussion on it. We're still sort of assessing the need. And so I think without knowing,
It'd be
we
nice
haven't,
to
we haven't,
for a discount.
we haven't
you know.
brought the conversation forward at this point in time. So
I think if we're going to do that, we should expedite it, because if we talk about it 4 months from now, it's not going to do people any good. And I think I brought this up about 3 weeks or so ago.
right.
But this is something
This is a
that,
policy decision. I don't think we're going to settle
Yeah.
the work plan discussion. So if that's something you want us to bring back to the council for consideration of whether you want to waive the fees, we can do that.
If if everybody's in agreement, I like to see that come back to us, because I think that's trying to give our residents some kind of a break, again, as long as it's related to flood damage.
Couldn't the
But-
town manager do it
consider
under
some
your
kind of-
emergency
give 'em a break.
authorization?
Some
Declared
kind
an
of discount.
emergency?
sorry, what did you say, Jim?
I would do a rebate. Waive it.
So late my time.
I think this is, I think we're then talking about our fees again. So that's a bigger discussion that we would have to have. We
We'd
can't
have to come
just,
back to the agenda. We'd have to
Yeah.
agendize something to come with the council about whether the council would like to waive or reduce fees for flood-related permits, when we'd have to define what that is, how we determine that. But that would be something we'd have to agendize and make sure we are appropriately putting together the work, and the information for consideration of implementing a program like that.
right, exactly, and
Yeah, I'm
all the
okay with-
analysis.
Yeah, and I would like to see that come back to us,
Okay.
but again, sooner rather than later. Okay, Pat.
Thank you. Thank you. Vice
I
Mayor.
will, without Amy, and maybe she is here, I know we have a lot of other work that we're doing, but if
Yeah.
we're happy to
Yeah.
do some of that, we may need to have a discussion about taking something else that she's working
Right,
on
right.
off or delaying it.
Exactly. And I will say that although there are things that may appear that they're administrative and they don't belong on the work plan per se, but they do belong in the work plan discussion, so that we know we are not asking staff to add more to their workload than is possible for the number of people that we have. And so I think it's really important that it's on there. It's not, that it's in this document, and that we do see it before we go into the strategic planning, because otherwise it gets we might be getting a bit unrealistic. And I think it's also important that we are looking at the things that did not get done the year before that are still very important and still have priority, before we start adding more. So I think that, all that information is really important to be there.
Okay.
And so,
No, that's the end of the discussion.
So
Turn the lights
I
on.
want you all to know, I had about 12 things on my list. I have scratched out at least 7 of them, and I only have about 4 or 5 left. Adam and I did not get a chance to meet prior to the meeting, so, but I feel like this is our last opportunity so that we're going to put the work plan to bed tonight, right? So it's my last chance to bring up a few things that I'm concerned about.
If I may, Mayor, I'd just like to get clarity on this last item about bringing something back to the council with respect to permit fees and reducing those permit fees. Is that something that the council would like staff to work on in the very near term? In which case, I would like to give Amy Lyle an opportunity to talk about how that may affect her work plan and the other work that's on her agenda at this point. She's remote. Yes, is she still online? So is that something, first off, I just want to say, is there at least 3 of you who want us to bring this back to in the near future, within the next month or so, this permit fees and reducing the permit fees?
You're
Excuse
making
me?
me think not.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, I think we should.
If you're saying or so, don't waste your time, because
No,
the flood occurred New Year's Eve. 4 months from now, the houses should have been fixed, and any registration fees will have already been incurred and paid and all that good stuff. So, if it's later than, say, well, I'm just wondering whether it's too late now. we should have been in a situation where we could sit there and say, if you
Good thought.
do the,
Maybe
if
we
you
do
do
a
the
policy for
repair,
the next
you know, when we had our
policy for
flood
the next
meeting over at Cove School, say, we're going to waive the fee for the next 90 days, period. You know, but I think we might have missed the opportunity.
Yeah, let's do a proposal for the next time it happens. Let's have a policy that when there is a major disaster, we will take 50% off the permit fees or something like that. Have a policy that we set up, but not try to do it retroactively for this particular circumstance. At least they'll know we're working in the right direction.
Do we need to agendize this and then have a full
Yeah,
discussion at the
because
next
this
meeting?
is, yeah, we can't really be talking specific numbers and all that right now with all of us here, and it's not noticed
Yeah.
because it's really a
About,
policy.
do we want to bring something back on a
Right.
future agenda in the
Yes.
relatively near term, like within the next couple of weeks? So do three of you want us to put together a proposal?
Well, I just would like to understand, do you have a sense of whether it is too late, as Jim is thinking it might be, or of whether, do you have a sense of how much need there is for this type of relief in the community right now in light of this recent event?
No, I think my concern is that it's hard to ascertain. And I think based on the evidence that we have, there hasn't been a lot of requests for building permits in general. There is an argument that that may be because people think that it's going to cost a lot of money, which is not the case. It's actually minimal fees. But so you're sort of caught in between, right? Like what information is out there? I mean, we have been putting out information, communication, get your building permits. We're here to work with you, so on and so forth. I think I would defer to Amy and Bernie, but I know they did not get a lot of individuals coming to speak to them about building permits. I'm not sure we've had many people come in and to the front counter talking about building permits as well. All right, so Amy's here. Great. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Amy.
Hello,
Hi, good
Amy.
evening. Amy Lau, Community Development Director. And Vice Mayor Casisa, I know we had talked about this early on, and I will say we're always assessing the need as far as permit cost and disaster recovery. And in this case, we've really only seen, I think, 2 permits so far, 2 permit applications as a result of the flooding. People are most likely not getting permits. We've been doing outreach. We've been talking with a lot of people who've had flood damage, and the work is most likely occurring. But of course, we try to encourage people to get permits as much as possible. But I do feel like that moment has passed. If we were to do a future effort of this sort, we would include it in the urgency ordinances and for recovery, or otherwise it would have to come to your council. But we would certainly do something if the need was more widespread. In this case, I will also say the permits required for a lot of the flood recovery are not expensive, and most of them can be done over the counter. So I think it would depend on the severity of the damage and what kind of assistance would be required as well.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
I don't support this now, so thank you, Amy, for that explanation.
Yeah, my sense is I don't think that there's I don't think there's a need to displace other urgent items for this right now, but I would love for us to be ready to do something on the basis of a disaster proclamation in the future.
Sounds good. So
That's
have
just
you?
2. Who's the third?
Oh,
Anybody else also opposed? Or we were
No,
3 and 2?
It's next.
It's next.
There
Okay.
was no vote.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go on with
Mayor,
my
if I
questions.
may, before Councilmember Ravazio continues, I just want to make sure that I captured whether there was consensus that we're splitting the climate action and adaptation and disaster preparedness program area into 2 categories. I didn't, I missed that. If there was support for that or not.
yes. Is there, well, you support, okay,
have
do you
any
have
problem
support
with
for
it.
splitting, Eli? For splitting it into disaster preparedness and What was the other one?
Splitting, currently it's one program area that's called Climate Action, Adaptation, and Disaster Preparedness. And Vice Mayor Casissa is recommending or suggesting that we split that into two separate categories: climate action and adaptation, and then the other one, disaster preparedness slash recovery.
Yeah, one is more immediate and one is future. So yeah, I think that makes sense for them to be split.
Okay.
They're different actions, different types of actions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Okay.
Thank you.
So I think,
Thank you for the floor.
yeah, you're not finished yet. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I really tried to make this concise. I'm going to start with the on the staff report on page 5. The list of things that were put forward for the future are listed there. And I would like to request that we put them on the actual work plan so that they will travel with the work plan. And I would suggest we have we have the new category, we have the returning. You can also have an F for the future, because this is a rolling plan. I mean, the concerns about whether it's been here 1 year or 2 year, small town government takes decades. I've watched how slowly things move here. So we shouldn't get all bent out of shape about things taking 2 years or 3 years or even 5 years. The importance is to keep this as a rolling, living work plan. So those things, if we can just get them so that they carry forward, because otherwise they're going to be lost. Someone new will be on the council next year. No one will think of it, or what, it won't come up. So let's find a way to carry it forward. And if I could just go on, I want to get this done before we get into lots of conversation. On the whole organization of the work plan, it's really important to me, and I think to the community, that the signage projects, of which there are 3, the intergenerational center, the downtown merchant signage, and the town hall building moniker, that these be done in a coordinated fashion, that we have one professional that we hire. And I guess I can go along with the fact that we don't need more staff. That was going to be one of my main pitches tonight, is that I think we need to hire more people. It gets old to hear that these big ideas can't happen because we don't have enough staff, but maybe we can just start to do a better job of getting freelancers. Like, we can find a really great designer who can do all 3 of those sign projects for us. And in doing so, we'll create a template that, in my years as a brand and marketing consultant, is really important, so that when new signage comes in for Park Madera or for the rec center or whatever, we start to look unified. And we start to project that branding image that you all talked about on your retreat. And the first thing a branding expert will tell you is that consistency is everything. So consistency, the IG sign, the town park sign, it should all start to feel like one designer, one vision.
I'm just trying to direct it back to the work plan. Is there something that you want?
Yeah, so it's 11, we can get together on the details later. It was just combining 1144. And I didn't see anything about the intergenerational sign, but you mentioned the tenant improvements, of which it is one on, again, the organization of I'm not exactly sure where it is. I can find that.
Yeah, I think.
Fred, will you look for it for me while I? So my second thing was the staffing discussion, and I do think that we're hurting. I know you guys are working really hard, and yet when we have to turn down things like that bike path that's been talked about now for a decade, and we're pulling out for a year because we can't handle it, that makes me think that $3 million surplus over the last 2 years running could be invested in staff. And I don't understand why that's not on the table. I brought it up at the workshop. We never really discussed it. I know everybody feels like we need to be holding tight, but what does it cost? About 300,000 to hire. We could use another great engineer in Public Works to help Chris. We could use a communications and public relations professional, which the town of Corte Madera has never had and always needed. And even if that's freelance, a consultant could come in and teach us all, teach staff how to write press releases, how to get ahead of some of these things. The whole e-bike issue is a PR nightmare because you got really loud people out there talking about the problem and we got nobody talking about the solution because we're not proactive communicators. So I really think that's something that should be done. And I don't know where it fits on the work plan. Something else I brought up that I've heard a lot back on from the people who were there and from other people I've spoken to is that Corte Madera used to have a radio station. We had an emergency AM broadcast radio station that I understand is still there in the fire department. It was 1360 AM. And when there was an emergency, you just tuned in to the radio station. And now you could do it on your phone or your internet and get these recorded messages about where the sandbags are, when the chipper's coming, whatever. It was a really nice communications tool. And I can't get anybody to give me a report on what the feasibility of that would be. And what I would love to resubmit is that we put that in the work plan on, I'm sorry. Right in the beginning, where it talks about improved public communications. As much as alerts and reader boards do some of that, reinstating our radio station would be a game changer when it comes to helping with disaster management. And maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe we can podcast it. Maybe we can go internet or something, but we need better communications with our community. I hear about it a lot now, especially because we don't have the Twin Cities Times anymore. There's a real news desert, journalistic desert, if you will, in our community. Wait, I'm going to finish and then you guys can talk about whatever you want. Okay, I want to get done. Oh, landscape management. So I thought that's what you were talking about. So the Flores contract that does all the landscape management in the park. I don't know where that is on the work plan, but there needs to be more attention paid to plants that we've invested in and then we kind of are letting die. Like some of the stuff at Park Madera Plaza, some of the stuff in the parks. We really need to know who's managing the landscape. I know it's never really gone under Parks and Rec, but then Public Works kind of doesn't want it either. And if the beautification committee is really feeling strong, they'll come in and kind of try to run things. But landscape management needs to be something that is given a little more attention. And I'm not sure where that would go. And I'm going to leave all the rest of it, the Higgins Landing, all of that, as long as we can just say it's under discussion. And the bike path especially, guys, I'm getting tons of grief on that from the bike people that, oh my God, why is Corte Madera pulling out when there's agreement of all the county agencies, the Marin Transit, Smart Routes to School, TAM, says they're ready to start giving money to look into it. And Corte Madera is kind of putting the kibosh on it because it's our property. So if it's not on our work plan, then let's at least put it so that we're committing to look at it in the future. And that will make my detractors not disappointed that they chose me to be their big advocate.
Okay.
So just a couple comments on that. As far as these future items, I'm okay with putting them in the work plan as long as they're at the bottom, separated out, and it's clearly disclaimed that they're not for consideration at this time.
They're not fully approved.
So people don't
Suggestions for the
think that they're
future.
part of that. We're going to be looking at them if we want to go that route. If you think it's better to leave it out, I'll go with, because you're looking like leave them out.
Leave what out?
2 items are you talking?
I
They're all these down
I would
here.
just
The stuff that's on.
I would just say that if they're in the staff report, they will not get lost. My concern about putting them on the work plan is they'll be easy to just throw in there. And are they actual commitments that they go on a future work plan? Otherwise, what I think they don't belong on the work plan. So I would prefer to leave them in the staff report. We will not lose them. I will commit that we will not lose the list of things that are sort of on what we've called the parking lot, but things that we want to make sure that they get brought back up at our every, whether it's some of them are 6 months or with the mid-year, some of them are more like the next year's work plan. But I do think if you put them on the work, this is just me, and I'll take direction from the council, but if you do put them on the work plan, it's going to be I'm not sure what we're saying, because if we're not committing to them, then I don't think they should be on that list.
Can it be a separate box that says
Possible
for
future.
consideration for future work plans, debate to carry, discussion to carry forward, whatever you want to say. I just think making it not part of the record means you have to go back and look at all your staff reports to pull stuff up, which doesn't make sense. Especially since,
I guess,
we're not in agreement.
I guess the thing is you don't feel comfortable putting him on the work plan, right?
It wouldn't be my recommendation, but it can work. Probably it can work either way. I think as long as we're very clear with what it is. So I'll look for direction from the council on what you want to do on this one.
I'm indifferent.
Okay, and then if we're going to talk about what's on the work plan and things that I never weighed in on, and I don't know that everybody else did, you make a overall remark that because of staff, you're not pursuing a lot of the Parks and Recreation projects that were passed on by the Parks and Recreation Commission. And yet you very quickly approved a mural on the outside of the community center and it moved forward on the work plan. I don't get it. I mean, murals are a nice thing, but why is that? I mean, I know how much the last mural cost Rebecca in staff time. I don't support the mural to start with because I think murals are put on ugly buildings where you need something else to look at or ugly walls where you need something else to look at. And I think our community center should be nice to look at as it is without needing some kind of mural on it. No offense, but we didn't really talk about it. I didn't think it was my job to try to turn things down, but apparently it was because they end up on the work plan and the things that I thought there was agreement on end up not on the work plan. So
we did our best. I think we were trying to look if there wasn't like I said, if there wasn't really disagreement with some of the things that were mentioned, we sort of moved forward with them, assuming that there was consensus. But I think we want to hear what the council wants to be on there and what not. So
great. Let me see what else there is. I think the AI project for our traffic is not necessary and not worth investigating unless it's like super simple and then maybe we can look at it. But the hub in San Anselmo is a very different kind of traffic issue and problem. And we do not have an intersection like that. So I don't want to spend staff time on that if we don't need to.
Yeah. And I think I know you're looking at me, but I think it's really a council decision. If there's two other council members.
To me, I'd rather see it stay in because we don't have a thing like the hub. But I know if you go out here sometimes at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, traffic's backed up. If you go to the east side, traffic's backed up. We're going to have a new housing project, Hunt Plaza. We're going to get assisted living at over the Best Westerns. Don't know what's going to happen with Macy's. And I've talked to a couple of the council people from San Anselmo, plus also a couple of county supervisors. And I think it's a very simple type thing because they've already done the groundwork.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Chris in this. Chris, wait.
But shouldn't we wait
But
until they rebuild
the question is, we've been assigned to do things for the Lucky Drive, the new housing project out there, the 99 affordable units. We agreed in a meeting that we were going to take on the traffic issues there. We were going to do something about that. That is beyond AI, and that is not on the work plan. So how do we get that done?
Okay, hold on a second before we go to Chris. Because I think that if we're doing that, then we're discussing this in a way that's not allowed. Okay, so what what we're going to determine now is if we want to have that idea in the work plan, and then we will get a staff report, and I'm sure
You
that
mean the AI
or
issue?
the AI issue, yeah. And then we will get a staff report, and then we won't be putting people on the spot in a minute and giving them time
Okay,
to
well,
really create that report for us if we decide that is what we
Right.
need. Okay, so Jim, you had a question?
Yeah, doing AI to straighten out traffic from Talmapias over the east side of town and so on. Isn't that something that should be rolled up in the overpass rebuild so that when they redo the overpass, they don't compound problems, so we don't end up like Blythedale over in Tiburon Mill Valley.
Right now, if you go to the east side about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the traffic is backed up past the CHP station in both lanes.
I know.
And that's a
But
recurrence.
you understand what the AI does in San Anselmo?
Well, you know
What the AI does.
We're getting off on a tangent.
Okay, well,
The actual work plan item, and I think it's important to look at the specific language. It says, consider opportunities to utilize tech/AI for optimizing traffic flow on town's major roads. Now that's broad discretion, I would say, for staff to determine what that means in terms of considering. I can tell you, Chris has spoken to the same company that is doing the work over in the hub, and there may be an opportunity for have them test out some stuff. And Chris is going to be the one who's going to, as the expert, it's going to sort of say like, is this worthwhile to invest more time and energy and effort into this right now, maybe in a few months, maybe in next year. And he can report that back to the council, the findings. I think that's the extent really of this work plan item as written.
okay, that's fine.
That's fair enough.
Fair enough,
Good
we're
enough.
good. Can I ask, please, a discussion regarding the signage project? Adam, can you respond to my request on that, please? That those three things be grouped together as one project?
Oh yeah, so Amy, actually,
Yes, if I may. And I will say, I think Adam did hear your direction to combine those items, and I suggested separating them. So I'll explain my reasoning, and then you can recommend what you feel is most appropriate. But the signage on Town Hall, I feel that's somewhat separate than the old Corte Madera Square signage, primarily because there's going to be a larger outreach effort for old Corte Madera Square. So we will have to work with those businesses to make sure that there's consensus around what they need and what they would like to see in that situation. Whereas Town Hall is more of a community-wide conversation that will be funneled through our planning commission for that final decision. And so I think the timing may be different for both of those. I absolutely agree that we should have potentially the same designer involved, and I would love help if you know of people who are interested in helping us with that. And then I will say the intergenerational center, that we are going to have a temporary sign up soon. The permanent signage has to adhere to the sign program that's already part of the property. So we won't have a lot of flexibility on what that signage looks like. It's got to go with the current sign program that's already approved. So unfortunately, that won't be as fun to design.
You definitely get your own typefaces, your own colors, your own materials for your own signs. And if they're not offering you that, then our lease was misnegotiated, because any retailer coming in there would have a say in what their signs are. And I'm fine, Amy, if you can bring in one designer, but please, not just somebody we know. Let's find excellence. Corte Madera deserves great design. We got it on the Tamalpais overcrossing because we went to the top of the food chain when it comes to design. Let's do that again, please. There is no excuse. An expensive designer is not even twice as much as an inexpensive one. It's not that much money. And for the town clock or whatever out here, you're right, it's really important, but I want the council to handle that. And I want there to be a subcommittee on the council that handles that. I don't think the planning commission should take that on. I think it should be the council. It's too important, too big of a deal to the town. I've heard about it from 100 people already. And I used to work in this business of making signs and doing advertising and making things beautiful as a founder of the beautification committee. So I would like to be part of that process, if I may.
Well,
I hear you on that. And I would just say, I would love to hear from the council if you'd like a subcommittee for both the Old Corte Madera Square effort and the town hall effort, because that would be great to have some consensus and direction on that.
I would be happy to help, especially with the sign in the square where you're going to have businesses coming in and out
Okay.
as they change. Yeah.
Okay.
Amy, I'll be in touch.
I'll say outright, I can speak that, well, let me ask everyone else first. Is there an idea that we want a subcommittee for this and the council involved?
Only if I don't have to be on it.
I agree with Eli.
Yeah. This is something I would absolutely defer to the planning commission. The planning commission does signage. I remember when I was a planning commissioner, that's something that's what a planning commission does. That's not what a council does. And I would not support a subcommittee for that.
Okay, so maybe then we just oversee the design. I'm
not a designer.
I think that
we are the elected people who are put here to represent the community. I think we need to have the final say. If there's a selection of designs, I think we should get to choose one. I think Adam plus the council is the elected body that represents the town, and really important decisions should not be relegated to planning.
I don't think we need an ad hoc committee, because every time something
We
happens.
shouldn't be making, I'll just say we shouldn't, again, be making
Hold on.
decisions.
Every time something happens, we create an ad hoc committee. And I don't know if these ad hoc committees are subject to Brown Act. I know there's an issue with MCCMC with ad hoc committees. And
That's a
that may be
standing
separate.
committee.
I think that I go back to the training. What's our roles and responsibility? And it's our role and responsibility to be getting in the weeds with staff to be doing design work. And to me, we're up here. I can see planning commissioner, whoever it is, coming back and saying, here's 2 or 3 designs, and then we have the final say.
Yes.
But for us to get in the weeds, I don't think that's our role or responsibility.
Any advice from our town attorney?
Sounds like I would say we can report back. I mean, so there's a couple things. One is signage is a regulated part of our code. So we have to look to the municipal code first. That's hopefully you agree with me first on that. But it's not just everything is up for, we create our own process. There's guidance in the municipal code. We have created a sort of a little bit different process for town projects, which doesn't follow the zoning code per se on private property. Maybe it's worthwhile having an explanation of what that currently says. And we can have a discussion about this again at a future meeting where we sort of just lay out town projects so it's clear for everybody what that process looks like. There is an opportunity, I think, through that process, while it does allow the process to get truncated and have more streamlined approval process, it also has an opportunity for it to be elongated. And I think in this case, it depends a lot on the cost. If the cost is less than the procurement amount or something like that, I can sort of require it to go to the town council or the planning commission. But I'm speaking sort of just off of recollection here without having the ordinance in front of me. So I think we have to go back to that. Maybe what makes sense is that with respect to one or both signs, we come back and explain that process to the council. Then at that meeting, the council could, if they so choose, want to have a some sort of, I don't think there's anything precluding the town council from electing to have a subcommittee on, for example, something like a town logo for the outside of the building, which is a very public thing.
I thought we added a logo.
Well, we have a logo, but in what it's the materiality of it, the
It
color.
needs to be
schemes.
designed. It
Yeah.
needs a
So
designer.
in any case, that can be a part of that discussion as well. I just think we need to back up a little bit and just start with, let's put some context to this discussion a little bit with our municipal code.
One other thing.
I was the one who brought this up, so I would just like to say that Amy put my mind to rest on this by saying that she could work with the same designer, have one designer that will have a vision for Corte Madera's brand and who we're trying to be, and have them do maybe not the town one, maybe just the intergenerational center and the old town. That's the two sort of new, important contemporary signs going in. Maybe this is an artist's job. You and I talked about doing an art contest, a design contest for the outside of there's lots of things that could happen there. But Amy put my mind to rest. Thank you very much.
One other thing we're going to have to factor in this work plan too, whether it be signage or some of these other items, is how that's flowing into the budget. If there's money budgeted for this, I know I'm excluding, I'll say Chris's stuff when it comes to projects, because I know we already have a capital improvement plan and money's been budgeted for that. But when we start talking about some of these other items, I don't know. Hold on. I don't know if we've budgeted money. So, and I don't want to just start going, well, we have this money, let's go spend it. We need to figure out the budget part of it.
Right. So then the question on that, and I'm assuming that's all you have for us. Okay.
But wait.
Okay. But wait, I just thought of something else. So what we are determining now is how signage is going to be described on the work plan in relationship to these three possible areas that we're putting signs that have to do with, they're not really town properties, but they're directional, and they're just the signage that
Yes.
the town would be involved in creating.
I
as
think if
opposed
we
to
can
private
work
entity.
in the language about hiring a professional to do this, it
Mhm.
sounds like that would satisfy
Yeah.
Councilmember Ravazia's original.
A good designer.
That right.
So one quick, hey, Lorraine, did you get all these changes?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
She can. Fingers of lightning. All right, then. So if the council is finished with their questions, I want to open it to public comment on the work plan.
I just want to say that I think of all the things that are on the work plan, the effort to update the disaster preparedness plan for the town, which is dated, I just looked it up, it's dated on 2009, is by far and away, by many orders of magnitude, the most important thing for you to be focusing on. I say that having lived through the Loma Prieta earthquake and being in San Francisco. My wife lived through the Great Hanshin earthquake in Kobe that killed over 5,000 people, including many of her neighbors. And consistently, the problem has always been that municipalities do not proactively really pay attention to the needs to prepare their community for a disaster. And I'll just also add that with regard to the item on tobacco, as a resident and a constituent, I'm grateful to see that that's included. And I also appreciate Councilmember Casita's comment that while the county's ordinance may be a starting place for conversation, that the people that I talk to in your community are very consistently clear that they think that it's really time to end the sale of these dangerous and deadly products once and for all. And I have yet to run into anybody who disagrees with that position.
Thank you. Do we have
Thank
any people online who would like to speak?
Yes, we do. We have a hand raised from Margaret Bendel. Margaret, go ahead.
Good evening, council members. I'd like to just say that something that was not on any work plan, and I was very disappointed not to see it, was anything about an idea I had brought up to the Planning Council and the Planning Commission, or the Town Council and the Planning Commission, was consideration that we put into effect rules and regulations or some kind of parameters around how long it should take for a residence to be built after the permit is granted. When I did talk to the council about this a couple of months ago, two of the council members actually approached me afterwards and said they thought it was a really good and necessary idea. And so I would support what Pat Ravazio mentioned about putting it on some item under or title under futures, because I do think it gets forgotten, and I think it's a very, very good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any others?
No other hands raised from online attendees. And let me just check the email really quick. No emailed public comment.
Thank you. So we'll bring it back to council for final comments. You're looking at me like, is it ever final? Okay.
I would like to say we've come a long way on the work plan. I remember back when it was just kind of a perfunctory thing and there wasn't that much input into it. So I really do appreciate where we've come. I do think the organization needs a little bit of massaging so that so that it's easier to figure out. Like, it seems like the intergenerational center should kind of be a thing and then discussions under that. But I get that you want to put things by department, but I really do appreciate the help. And I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to meet ahead of time because we probably could have hashed out a few of those things. But if you need to hire somebody, let us know. We set aside money. We can afford to hire another engineer to help this poor man out. And he keeps nodding his head when I say that. I want you to know. And also professional public relations and communications help. I know Mike Moriarty does a great job, but it's been a need in the town for a long time, I think. My final remarks.
No, I don't have any. Do we need to approve to accept this, or are we good? Or I don't want Lorena, to be honest with you, to read back the changes.
No, I
So
understand.
we just make an assumption that everything we talked about is incorporated into the revised plan.
And we've talked about this as a living document, guys, so it's not like
I think we were
Athens,
prepared for having some conversation. And so I know Lorena has been taking good notes. What we'll do is we'll incorporate all of the comments. And I think we'll post it. Please just let us know if there's something like blatantly we heard it wrong. And we'll try to address that. But I think we got a really good handle on all the comments, and we are looking for it to be accepted though with the modifications as discussed tonight.
Question. Right after the sanitary district number 2, is there going to be a new box called possible future items or something like that? Or I don't know where we ended up with that. We went back and forth.
make it an addendum to the work plan, so it's not part of the same document if you need to do that, but it should travel with it.
I'm actually okay leaving it off because I have a feeling you feel more comfortable leaving it off.
Or a separate page with it or something, you know?
And did we get a vote on the mural? Is everybody else loving the mural for the community center? It hasn't
About the
even. hit-
liability for maintaining
I
it.
don't think there's anything to vote on because there's no proposal.
Yeah, but it's on.
Oh,
work
it is on the
plan.
work plan. So if there's
Well, it-
not consensus or at least 3
14.
council members who want
It's
to
a
do
big-
this, then they need to.
I think there's
I
other
would-
things to do.
I would rather leave it on there. That's my 2 cents.
I would rather leave it off. Sorry.
Well, my feeling is, my husband just had this conversation with me today. He was saying that, you know, it's great to have murals where you can actually see them and it's not difficult and it's lots of light and all that. And so, I mean, if you were thinking of a specific, which is still going to be a conversation, right? Of a specific place for where it's visible, it's easy to enjoy. I think that that kind of a piece of public art is, you know, certainly easily supported. So
I'm against it.
you're against it? Okay, that's fine. I
We
mean,
need
not-
Eli to make the deciding vote here.
I'm in favor of public art generally.
So that's 3 of us.
So we'll stay on.
Okay.
0. Okay, is there another one that wasn't quite clear yet or?
Everything else, Lorena, I'm looking at Lorena. She's going to be my.
Okay, so with that,
Yes.
we need a motion,
Wait,
right?
wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry.
Discussion. And the permanent lights, because I've noticed that in Larkspur, Piper Park, they have permanent lights is that what you all are thinking of? They're in the trees and they light up in different
No, I
colors.
think it's related to holidays, but during whatever holiday it is, you're not putting them up each time.
Right.
They're sort of live there and then you sort of put different colors on them potentially or whatnot.
Right.
But they don't go on every night. No.
Okay.
Right, and it's my
Okay.
understanding in Larkspur, I think they put them up during the holiday season and then they take them down. I don't think they're up there year round. Or if we do more of a
them out.
permanent,
Yeah.
unless I'm wrong on that.
No, that's right. Yeah. But I think the idea would be could string them one time
Mhm.
and have controls and turn them on during particular holidays or other special events.
I
Okay.
understand that was $30,000 or $40,000 for the
Yeah,
lights.
Larkspur.
Yeah.
We'll talk about budget with all
Yeah.
of these items.
So, Mayor, I believe we need a motion to accept the work plan with the changes. And before that, if I may, I just wanted to add that we do have a web page related to the work plan, and we have been tracking, like you can see last year, we kept links to the staff reports and the discussions and things that council reviewed so that it creates a record, even though it's not tied to the actual chart. There is a link to the staff report that can be referred to for items such as those that we mentioned as future items that
Brilliant.
sounds like there's different ideas on having on the work plan or not.
I think
So
that's
we do
brilliant.
have
Right? The
that.
idea is we'll put a link to some sort of future consideration item but no commitment and just a list that you can access on the website.
Everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
I think that's good.
All right, so with that, I can make a motion to approve the work plan with,
Can I ask one more question? I'm so sorry. Jeremiah Mock brought up a really interesting point about our disaster preparedness plan not being updated since 2009. Can we at least add looking at that onto the work? plan?
It's on there. It's on there.
It is on there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we've been waiting for Office of Emergency Management. There's actually still in review right now of their updated emergency operation plan. And the idea is that we're going to tier off theirs as much as
Okay.
possible. So when theirs is finalized.
Good. That was making me wonder what else were we missing. So I'm glad it's at least on there. I thought I saw it. Okay.
Is
All
there
right, so-
something?
so,
Whether it's accepting or approving, I think the council understands it's one of the same, essentially.
all right, so I'll make a motion to accept the work plan with all the noted changes. And again, there's still somewhat of an open door after it gets published. If we find typos or something that looks off, we'll just go back to staff and just say, hey,
Administrative.
here's some, I'm talking about adding thing or subtracting thing. It just could be some verbiage or just something that somebody said something that may just not sit right. So, but I'm pretty sure Lorraine got everything captured.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, just for members of the public, this is a living document, and what it reflects is the priorities that we're setting at this point in time, but we don't know what might pop up throughout the course of the year. We don't know what good ideas might come our way or pop into our heads. And so it's very much, it's a living document.
Okay.
So Councilmember Andrews gave the second, so I'll call the vote. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Beckman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ravazio,
I'm going to vote no.
Vice Mayor Casissa.
Yes.
Mayor Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries.
All righty. And now we'll move on to council reports. The first report is from our town manager.
Great. Thank you so much. A couple of reports. I first wanted to mention that O&I Development, this is the company that's behind the new assisted living or proposed assisted living and memory care facility at 56 Madera Boulevard. They will be holding a community meeting on February 25th at 5:30 p.m. at the community center. I just want to stress this is not a town-sponsored meeting. This is really run by the developer. It's not counted as one of our meetings as well per SB 330, but they want to be proactive and also just reach out to the community and have a conversation about what they're proposing to do. So again, February 25th, 5:30 p.m. at the community center. I had touched on this earlier, but I do think it's important. We're putting out wording in our Friday communications this week. But just to read some of the press release from Marin County, as of Friday, February 13th, loans from the U.S. Small Business Administration are available to businesses, private nonprofits, and residents to offset physical and economic losses from the storm, flooding, and king tides that inundated parts of Marin from December 31st, 2025 through January 5th, 2026. The SBA, in collaboration with local agencies, has scheduled the opening of 3 disaster loan outreach centers to provide in-person support and application assistance to community members. The first one is opening actually today, February 17th through the 20th, 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Sausalito Parks and Rec. Then it will move on to the Marin County Office of Emergency Management, Los Gatos. Again, we're going to put out this messaging. We'll probably put out a news flash, actually, given that Sausalito starts today. We'll put this out tomorrow, get Mike to do that. And then there's one at Stinson Beach as well. And so just a point of information, according to the SBA, eligible applicants can borrow to repair or replace disaster damaged or destroyed real estate, machinery and equipment, inventory and other business assets. Homeowners and renters may borrow to replace or repair personal property such as clothing, furniture, cars, and appliances. Application deadlines are April 6th.
Quick question on that, if you
Yes.
don't mind. Can you see if you can reach out to the county? And again, I know it's kind of late in the game to see if they can do something in central Marin, like Corte Madera, Larkspur, because it seems like they're doing Marin City, they're doing San Rafael, Stinson Beach. But again, Corte Madera, Larkspur, we got hit also.
Yeah, on the other side of the freeway down by the.
I will find out how they can. We just got this information.
Yeah, I know. I saw it today online.
But I think it's positive in general, but I will see if they can't tack us on, because it looks like the application period goes a little bit longer anyways, so maybe through March. All right. So that was.
Can you send it to us as a sort of PDF attachment and that we can then forward on to other people who have questions?
Yeah, I think we can certainly do that. And then I think just one piece of information, again, flood related. We were informed today by the Coastal Conservancy that they are not recommending that we move forward to the next round of final and complete application. We still have the Ocean Protection Council grant application in. And we'll work again just to keep pushing on the grant funding for the Marina Village Firm berm project. So with that, I think is all I have to report at this time.
Only thing I have to report is on February 5th, there was a meeting of the Finance Committee, which there was technical problems, so you can't watch the meeting, but the two important items that were discussed is first, our insurance broker agency, the Joint Powers Agency, gave the Finance Committee sort of a briefing of what they're doing. The only noticeable thing I saw is that they're considering how to handle catastrophic losses, and how they do that, we don't know. But what? That
Yeah. And I sent the slides, but over to the council. But yeah, it's
And then there is also we got a first pass at a 10-year general fund forecast, and despite the what is it, $800,000 hit to sales tax, it looks like we're still running a small surplus each year. So the town looks like it's still financially sound.
On February 10th, I participated in what I think was maybe our first meeting of our building appeals panel, and we heard an appeal to a citation. That appeal was rejected. I guess the citation was upheld. This was a case where a homeowner basically elected to do a whole bunch of construction, including building structures outside of her property boundaries, without a permit. Essentially insisted on refusing to get a permit. And so in addition to upholding the citation, the appeals board also made a ruling that if this homeowner did not schedule the required inspection within 10 days, we were going to up the fine, which had been very graciously levied at a mere $130 a day, but is authorized up to $1,300 a day under the municipal code. And we ordered that if this inspection did not take place as required within 10 days, we would need to go up to the $1,300 a day fine, because it is absolutely unacceptable to have anyone in our community acting as if the laws do not apply to them, especially laws that exist for the purpose of protecting public safety. So that was certainly an eye-opening experience for me in terms of I think some of what goes on in our community, especially when folks feel like they can get away with anything. So I wanted to report out on that. Later that day, we had a Central Marin Sanitation Agency board meeting. The big kind of item from that, the service agreement that we had been hearing about with San Rafael Sanitation District was approved. All of the potential points of concern for SD2, as raised by Amy Ackerman, our prior town attorney, were able to be addressed satisfactorily. So I was happy to vote in favor of that, given that there's no risk or cost of any real magnitude to SD2. And it does, I think, open a conversation that certainly the other two collection agencies, Ross Valley Sanitary District and San Rafael Sanitary District, are interested in having, which is looking at whether it makes sense in the long term for the three collection agencies, those two and SD2, to consolidate with CMSA and create one agency for all of Central Marin that handles both sewer collection and treatment. Big picture, I'm pretty clear in my mind that that would be the path towards the most cost-effective service for the people of Central Marin. Obviously, it's a very complicated question. We know we've been through these types of mergers with our police and fire departments. Folks are in different financial situations, possibly on different pension systems. These are incredibly complex questions to examine and figure out whether there's a path forward and whether it makes sense. But I know that RVSD and SRSD are planning to pass resolutions calling for the establishment of a study committee to examine the question. I personally would be in favor of SD2 participating in that process, and I think this is a discussion that we will hopefully have in the future, but I just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. And then the last thing is on February 11th, I attended the second of two MCE budget workshops. The high level takeaway there is it's going to be a challenging year for MCE, but we are still on track to lower our rates anyways, which is really critical relief for folks that are struggling with their power bills right now. So happy to report that out. Thank you.
You want me to go? Okay. So I attended a Marin Healthy Youth Partnership meeting where there was some lengthy discussion about the need for a tobacco ban. And I think Dr. Mock puts it very well for me also, that when I talk to people about this in the community, I've not heard anybody say you shouldn't do that, except for that one businesswoman who called in. And Jeremiah's got some great ideas on ways she can augment her income. The Legislative Committee of the MCCMC was the instigator of this whole thing with the Brown Act, and it was because there was a woman who really wanted to be in our meetings, and she had attended once and was a little disruptive. So I think it was more like they were just trying to discourage her from going away, and it turned into a big complaint so now all of the MCCM, even subcommittees, and it's not a task force, it's not a short-term thing, it's a regular standing committee. If you're a standing committee, you have to go by the Brown Act, even if you are a subcommittee. I wanted to report that I referred the lovely group that was working on the Tainter Steps to the Corte Madera Community Foundation, which is going to help them get started as an organization and provide their fiscal support so that they can raise funds. And they're going to initiate, sort of similar to what happened in Menke Park. The foundation will initiate and figure out the parameters and figure out what they want to do. And then once there's some resources in place, they say they'll come back to the town. So I thought that was a good solution for them. I heard from a man who I referred to Rosa, thank goodness I'm not mayor, who has a beautiful idea for a sculpture garden on the east side of town along Linear Park. I don't know if he's contacted you yet, but he has resources and he has artists, and it's a beautiful idea. And hope we can work with him. We met on the Intergenerational Center and made some interior design decisions. And also, sorry, I forgot to mention the Marin Healthy Youth Partnership. I learned that overdose rates in Corte Madera are much higher than in our neighboring communities. Overdose deaths even are higher. So there was a proposal by a woman with the CRT, Community Response Group, to have some Noxalon lock boxes as an antidote to overdosing. And I understand Rebecca was doing a great job working with her a couple years ago. I don't know when she just wanted me to kind of bring it back up again and see if there's any progress or if there's anything I can do to help. It seemed like a worthwhile cause so that people in the community know if somebody is overdosing, you can run down to town hall or run down to the town center and there's a lockbox and you can get in and get the antidote for fentanyl poisoning. And last thing is, just to report, there's still no coffee in downtown Corte Madera. My Pilates friends are now basically threatening me with going against me in the election if I can't find a way for them to get a cup of coffee in downtown. So maybe I'll just start bringing my own little pot of coffee.
Imagine that, making coffee at home.
Making coffee. Well, that's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
Now. Adam can attest. But yeah, a downtown should have a coffee place. So we're pushing for it. And I know Amy's working hard on it. Amy's working really hard to make it happen. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And that's all.
On February 4th, I attended a ribbon cutting at College of Marin for their Center for Student Success. Eli was there also. If anybody gets the chance, go check out that building. Alton Construction, who did this building, did that one also. It's a beautiful building. They did a really good job on it. Provides a lot of student services, everything from a food pantry to medical related services. And then I think on the second floor, there's a library. It's all open to the public. So if anybody can, go check it out. They did a really good job with that. On February 12th, I attended Central Marin Police Authority meeting. Annually, they have to report to the state of California staffing variances and vacancies and that kind of stuff. So the good news is that Central Marin Police is only down 4 officers, and he has 4 in background check. It's going to ebb and flow because you could have people retiring or leaving for other departments. But I think about a year and a half ago, they were down 9 to 10 officers. So by being more fully, not fully staffed, but better staffed, he's able to put, I think, 2 patrol officers back on traffic. So you may see an increase in patrol officers regarding citations, school resource officer for, I think, Redwood, I think Archie Williams, and also Hall. He's been able to institute that back also. So their levels are back up. The other thing that came up was we did have the annual audit report. There was nothing there to report. But at some point in time, and I'll point to Chris, we just need to look at the pension stuff for Central Marin Police because Dan Schwartz brought it up and it was kind of like a fast blurb. It seemed like there's some pension aspects that it's liability of the JPA. Some of them maybe are liability. So it doesn't necessarily need to go on our books, but I think it's just something somewhere financially we just need to be aware of. But again, Dan talked really fast and I lost track of it. Same night also, I attended Central Marin Fire Department. Same thing they did, had to do the staff report. They're pretty much fully staffed. The good news there is that Rosa was appointed chair. So she's now chair of that department. The other thing that came up that I didn't realize is that Central Marin Fire now has a contract with the County of Marin to provide fire services to, let me know if I'm wrong, the Greenbrae Broadwalk, that area, and also San Quentin out that area. Has a county, I think, is looking at building housing out there. So they actually have a contract now. So the good news is Central Marin Fire is getting reimbursed for providing those services. And I think that's all I had. Thanks.
I guess the last one. Okay, so on February 9th, I attended the flood board meeting, and citizens expressed a lot of questions about how they can take control of their flood safety and also how the town can move further toward protection from flooding and tides. And they seem very keen to they're at a point where they're like, okay, we've been talking about this a long time. Let's actually get something done in the very near term. So I think that was good news. On February 11th, I met with the 4th of July Working Group, which was attended this time also by the Parks and Rec directors of both Larkspur and Corte Madera. And they had some great ideas about outreach. The idea this year is to make this a very much home community participant event. So homeowners associations, local dance clubs, even if they're part of the rec team, the rec center programs, to also be in the parade, chess clubs from the high schools. So a very, 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 very back to home kind of theme. And we worked on looking at the artwork for that and also a slogan for the parade. And so that went really well. And then coming up Thursday, February the 19th, I will be at a ribbon cutting for Super Duper Burger, and all are invited, and it should be a joyous, fun time. And that is all I have.
Breakfast.
There might be a burger or two. I don't know.
They don't open till
Till 11. Well, but we're cutting the ribbon, so they'll be open. In fact, they are open already. I think they opened last week, but
did.
the actual, Squawk Box. I love it. I love it. And so now we have discussion of the draft agenda for the upcoming council meeting of March 3rd. Do we have ideas or things we'd like to see on that agenda?
Can I just ask, is the Tobacco County thing coming up? Can we at that meeting have a presentation about what a ban would entail, or?
So I thought we're going to go back to the work plan discussion we had on the 23rd, which was the idea was if the council wants us at that meeting to explore what, a potential more stringent set of regulations might look like, we're going to be putting that question. We'd like that direction from the council at that meeting. So it's going to take a significant amount of work to do that and put together a thoughtful proposal.
Okay.
And outreach, of course, and all sorts of things to businesses if the council wants us to take a more aggressive step. But we need that direction before we
Okay.
start doing that
Got
work.
Thank you.
So on the third, we could be discussing the county ordinance and then instruct saying over and above the county thing, and at a future date, come back with something else, right?
That's correct. And
Okay.
I think we'll have some basic level information for you about what that might entail in terms of work and so on. But yes, we'll be looking for you to give us some direction on that.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more thing, which I just remembered. I think most people are aware, but I'm not sure that John Howard passed away, I think last week he passed away last week or the week before. I think most of us knew him. Him and Lee started the NRGs, instrumental in the Lions, just did a kind of like a pillar, I want to say, of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I know him and Lee sold their house, I think about a year or so ago, and moved out. So again, I know we've sent some email condolences to Lee. I know that she appreciates anything like that, but maybe we just do the meeting in honor of John and just do maybe a moment of silence, if that's okay.
I adjourn this meeting in memory of John Howard. Let's have a moment of silence, please.